So if you're here, you might already know who we are. We're getting pretty big. We're getting pretty popular. But just to make sure, let's talk about who the SoCal League is. SoCal League is a 501c3 nonprofit. We were organized in 2008 with the goal of getting cross-country mountain biking in public and private schools across SoCal, grades 9 through 12. Really, the idea is putting mountain biking in high schools just like football or soccer or any of the other sports, and we're doing a pretty good job of accomplishing that so far. In 2014, we grew to include a middle school program. I helped pilot that program with Matt. Middle school runs from grades 6 to 8, and it's heavily focused on building skills, on having fun, and fitness, and it has a taste of the competitive aspects. One thing that Macanel always likes to say is high school is supposed to be fun. Middle school is supposed to be a lot funner. Everything in middle school should be fun, safe, learning skills, just really more about having a good time. SoCal League functions as a spring sport, so we hold our season, our racing season, beginning in February and going through May. We are one of many NICA leagues. There are fall and spring leagues. We're one of the spring leagues. As an organization, we are the body that does all of the insurance stuff. We do all of the coaches training. We do all of the race production. We manage the entire thing. All of the things that you'll see as a coach or as a team director, those are all things that we're doing. Essentially, Matt and I are putting together and being run by primarily volunteers. Matt and I are the only two official SoCal League employees. We're the only ones who you can send an email to at any time of day and get a response from. Just a quick note, we talk a lot about racing. It'll get talked about some tonight for sure. But racing is definitely the most visible thing that we do only. It is definitely not the most important thing that we do. We're not purely a racing program. We're very much an organization that's culturally based. We'll talk about kind of the festival atmosphere of our races later on. If you're coming out to SoCal League just to go and have a really fast race and then go home immediately after, like some of you seasoned mountain bikers are used to, you're really missing out on the magic of interscholastic mountain biking. So, quick bit of history on the SoCal League. Matt's a lot better telling this story, but I'm going to give it my best shot. In 1998, that guy on the right there, that's Matt Fritzenser. He was actually adopted into the Mountain Bike Hall of Fame last year. He was a math teacher at Berkeley High School, and he used to sit in class every day during fifth period and see all of his fellow teachers who were coaches go out to coach for football and soccer and whatnot, and they get to essentially leave work early. And he went, how can I do that? How can I get out at fifth period? And so he started a bicycling team at Berkeley High. And originally it was a road biking team, but of course mountain biking was cooler with the high school students, so it became a mountain biking team. And in 2000, Matt was running a series with 4 high schools from the Berkeley area, all competing together in their own private series. So it started out where the teams would go and he would take them to, invitational races and all, like if you went out to go race at Vail or something like that. And then they started putting together their own series. Out of that, the NorCal League was born, and in 2001, NorCal held their first racing series in the spring. So NorCal races same time that we race. NorCal became the forerunner to SoCal and Nike. Essentially, during this time, there was a lot of stuff going on with Gary Fisher saying, "Hey, this has got to be a national thing," and there was a grant that was going to be coming up from the Easton Foundation. I don't know how many of you know this, but mountain biking has been an Olympic sport for quite a long time. And Easton is heavily involved in the Olympics. Easton is known for arrows. They're known for archery. So the Easton Foundation provided a grant to help launch the SoCal League. And when the SoCal League was created, it was essentially just a test. It was really, can we take what already exists in NorCal, the exact same model, and port it to somewhere else and have a high school cycling league in SoCal, have a high school cycling league, somewhere else. So in 2009, SoCal League had its first racing series. In the spring, we had 106 student athletes participating on 14 teams. And after that season, there was a lot going on. And what happened was Matt and a number of others, many NorCal people, went up to the Cliff headquarters and they formed NICA, which is the National Interscholastic Cycling Association, with the goal of essentially doing the same thing that they did in SoCal all across the U.S. The original mission statement was coast to coast by 2020, and we accomplished that well before 2020. That's changed now, but in 2014, like I said, the SoCal League introduced the middle school program, and SoCal is now one of many leagues that has middle school. It looks a bit different in some of the other states, but middle school's picking up everywhere now too. In 2017, we had over 1,000 student athletes on 65 teams. So if you look at that from 2009 to 2017, we went from 106 to over 1,000. Pretty impressive, and we're hoping that in our 10th anniversary season we're going to grow even more. Either way, we're going to have a really great time. We've got some really special stuff planned, and we hope that you will come join us for our 10th anniversary season. Real quick note, as of right now, the numbers aren't completely in, I don't believe, but there are currently 19 leagues, over or around 12,000 student athletes across those leagues. So who's NICA? Good way to think about who NICA is would be to think about the Boy Scouts of America. You have your Boy Scouts of America as the head, the big overarching umbrella organization, and then you've got councils, which would be like the leagues, and then your troops, which would be like your teams. That's very simplified with the Boy Scout structure. I know they're far more complicated than that, but that's a good way of thinking about who NICA is. They're the umbrella organization for all of the leagues. So they are a 501c3 nonprofit. We actually operate under their nonprofit ID. We are part of NICA. They're the national governing body for grades 6 through 12 interscholastic mountain biking. Really, a lot of what NICA does is they spend the time, they do the work to send people out from various other leagues, to send NICA staff out to launch these new leagues. So when somebody from Missouri is able to put a bid together and get the people together and they say, we were going to start the Missouri High School Cycling League, NICA is the one that puts in a year and a half or so of work establishing everything, getting all the coaches stuff, all the first coaches trainings, the league director training, the venue surveys, all that stuff. They do a lot of the administrative work for a lot of the leagues as well. They're really the kind of buck stops here. They're the head organization. They also provide technical assistance for the leagues. You guys are all going to get very familiar with the pit zone. You're going to love it or hate it, but that is run by NICA. So they do a lot of the tech support stuff for the leagues, and then they do all of our rules and licensing and combining of best practices. So when we have sites like the NICA Coaches Resource page where coaches can share information with each other, all that content is created by NICA. So NICA has 5 core principles. Those are inclusivity, equality, strong body, strong mind, and strong character. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory, but I'll pop through them really quickly. we're an inclusive sport, and you probably see in front of you there it says no one is benched. If you play by your team's rules, you have a spot in the SoCal League Series at the start line. What that means is, if you think about something like football, there might be 40, 50, 60 players on a team, but you're going to have 12 people on the starting line, and there's a number of players that are going to come every season, and they're going to spend most of their time sitting on a bench. Our policy is, if you are in good standing with your team, if you're playing by the rules, you're doing what you're supposed to, you get to roll your bike up to the start line, you get to race. That's the same in every league, really big, important part of what we do. Equality, all students are treated equally, so we don't discriminate against kids because they're, a different ethnicity, they're, autistic, whatever it is. We accept anyone, everyone. If you're a student athlete, you're in high school, you're in good standing with your team, you want to come out and have a good time and race, we welcome you. And that you'll get to see that at the races. The races are kind of they're like a big festival, and everyone's cheering on each other's riders and all. Everyone is very encouraging of each other. Strong body, that kind of goes without saying. If you're riding your bike and you're, going to practice 3 times a week and you're doing races, you're eating healthy, you're probably going to be improving your fitness, and a lot of good things come from improving your fitness. You get more focus and a lot of other things you're doing in your life, so strong body's in there. Strong mind, like I said earlier, we are not just a racing-specific program. We're looking to have well-rounded kids, who are going to go on to be lifelong mountain bikers and who have many other things that they do in their life. So, a good statistic is that more than half of NICA student athletes have a 3.5 GPA or higher, and 85% will go on to a 4-year college university. Just a quick note, kind of popping back on that with Strong Mind. Many teams, we recommend that teams follow the same guidelines that the other teams do at their school. So if it takes a 2.5 to play on the football team, then it takes a 2.5 to be on the high school mountain bike team. That's a question that normally comes up. So, and then strong character. We're looking for, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but we're wanting our kids to be involved in more than just getting on the bike and going fast down a trail. Most of our teams go out and do trail work every year. We've got a number of kids that will go and speak in front of city councils and all. There's actually a program that was launched this past season that we'll talk about some. So strong character is a really important one. So how do SoCal and NICA relate? So once again, Berkeley High School in 1998, they were the start. Matt Fritchenser wanted to get out of the classroom and get on his bike. 2001, the NorCal League had its first season in the spring of 2009. That was SoCal there. SoCal and NorCal came together to form NICA, the National Interscholastic Cycling Association, and then all of a sudden, all these leagues started popping up. So fall we had Colorado 2010. In the spring of 2012, we had Texas. Fall of 2012, Minnesota and Utah. Spring of 2013, New York. Fall of 2013, Tennessee and Arizona. Then Georgia, Virginia, and Wisconsin in fall of 2014. Alabama and Idaho in 2015. Nevada, Arkansas, Pennsylvania in 2016. And North Carolina and New Jersey in 2017. So let's talk about the different types of teams. One of the biggest questions that I always get is, hey, I tried to pitch this to my school. They can't do it as a school team. Like how do I make a team? Like, what are my options? So there's a number of different ways that a team can happen. The first would be your school teams, your official club or school teams. These are teams that are drawing from just one single school. So if you think about, like, if you're the Damien High School mountain bike team, you are just taking kids from Damien High School. official teams for the schools, they're going to be able to wear the Letterman jacket with the school colors. You see that Hemet High jacket there. They've got the Hemet High Bulldog on the front. These are going to be official teams sanctioned by the school. They're just like the football team or any other team. They've got their table up at club week or team week or whatever it is. They're school teams just like any other team that you'd imagine. The more common way that it happens, especially with those of you that are starting new teams, is going to be that you're going to be forming what are called unofficial school and club teams. These are teams that are going to take from these are teams that are going to draw students from one school, but they're not recognized by the school. So say it's the Damien High School mountain bike team. You're not allowed to be called the Damien, or I'm sorry, let's use Hemet High. It's easier. I don't know Damien's mascot off the top of my head. So let's say you're the Hemet High School mountain bike team as opposed to the Hemet High School Bulldogs. So you're taking kids only from that school, and you're having a team unofficially. You're not, you're not going to be able to wear the team logo and all that stuff, but you're still a school team drawing only from that one school. Then we've got home and club, homeschool teams, and excuse me, homeschool teams. Homeschool teams are groups of students that are drawn from a specific geographic area. So homeschool students in a specific geographic area. So if I am trying to start a homeschool team in Pasadena, we're going to be the Pasadena Homeschool Mountain Bike Club or the Pasadena Homeschool Mountain Bike Team, and we're only going to take kids that are from the Pasadena area who are doing homeschool. And then kind of along a similar line, but a little bit different, there's composite teams. Composite teams are teams that are going to draw from a number of schools or from a specific geographic region. So this is intended to be a temporary solution. A lot of times what happens is I'll start a team and I've got one kid on the team, another school, a guy from a school wanted to start a team. He's got 10 kids and 2 coaches. So there's a need to combine resources to have the kids work together so that we can actually have a functioning team and run practices and all. You're never going to get 10 right away. That's kind of an exaggeration, but the intention is to give you some ground to start on with the goal of spinning off multiple school-based, homeschool-based, unofficial school teams from those teams. And then there's also independent riders in SoCal. So any rider that comes in that doesn't have a team to practice with, a team to compete with, has the option of being an independent rider. And just because they're an independent rider doesn't mean that they can't practice with other kids. If there's a school that's nearby their area but they don't go to that school, they're welcome to practice with that team. They just can't score points with that team when they go to the races. So clubs can combine resources, coaches can combine resources. We very much encourage you to get to know some of your other coaches. There's a ton of coaches who have been around for a very long time in the SoCal League that are just, they're a wealth of information. They know practices and all kinds of stuff. So highly encourage you to reach out to them, and if you need help with that, please feel free to contact Matt or myself. We'll be happy to put you in touch with people that are in your area. So where does middle school fit into the whole thing? Well, middle school is grades 6 to 8. Programming is far less restrictive than high school programming. So team participation structure is a little bit more flexible. Where you may have kids coming out, 3 times a week to do practices, and one of them's, intervals on the trainer and all. With the middle school kids, you may be coming out to do a skills practice and maybe a little bit less on the hard fitness and all, maybe not as many times during the week. Again, middle school is supposed to be very focused on developing skills and having a lot of fun so that the kids want to go to high school, want to become lifelong mountain bikers, not get burnt out before they even get into high school. There's no team point scoring or season-long individual standing implications at the middle school level. So when your middle school kid comes out to a race, they are racing just on that day against the kids in their field. Awards are given to the top 5. There's no yellow jersey. There's no leader jersey of any type. There's no season overall standings. High school teams may have middle school riders on them. They are not required to allow middle school riders, though. It's up to you. If it's too much for you to take on your first season, you don't have to do that. You also have the option, though, of doing just the middle school program if you'd like to. Or you have the option of doing both. We encourage you to do both. The middle school program, having that is a really good way to get your kids trained in before they go to high school, which can be, if you're coming in having never raced a bike into high school, it can be a really big step for them. There's a very big learning curve there. Rolling up to the start line the first time ever with 100 kids, wrapped around you can be a little bit intimidating. So coaches. Coaches are volunteers. If anybody knows that they're going to be getting paid to be a coach, feel free to post it up. You're going to be one of maybe one of one in SoCal even. It's very, very uncommon. Most of you are going to be volunteers, and we appreciate you so much because none of this happens without you. Who can be a coach, though? Some are teachers. Most of the coaches are going to be parents, especially in your first season. Recruiting parents is going to be where a lot of your coaches come from, and then some are both. But they don't have to be one of those things. Someone who's a super enthusiastic mountain bike person, who's an advocate, who just wants to give back to the sport, that's a great person. A coach can come from all sorts of different backgrounds. You don't have to be a pro cyclist who's retired now and wants to coach a team. You can be Johnny's mom or dad who's never ridden a bike before, and now your kid's doing this, and you think it's so rad, and now suddenly you're riding a bike, and wow, you're learning how to teach mountain bike skills to kids. There's no wrong path to becoming a coach. We'll take anyone that we can get as long as they're not going to do silly things. You don't need to be an elite rider to be a coach. So all coaches go through a licensing program. In order to be a coach in any capacity with the SoCal League, this is super important, you must have a level 1 license. Some of you, I'm not sure if anyone is here as a returning coach and just kind of listening in, but this has changed for this season. The levels have changed. So those of you that are new, you have nothing to worry about. So level 1, what are you going to have to do at level 1? Most important thing that we do at all in the SoCal League across NICA is manage risk. You as coaches, you are risk managers. That's going to be your primary goal. So all coaches at level 1 are going to go through a risk management training. That's an annual course. It's web-based. You take a test at the end of it. Probably takes maybe less than an hour, I'd say. Depends on how fast you read, I guess. You're going to have to take the NICA Student Athlete, which is basically a web-based course about the philosophy of NICA, the culture of NICA. Same thing, you take a short test after that. You'll do your concussion certification with the CDC, which is about a 15-minute course. Everything up to this point, totally free. There's no charge for any of it. You'll pay an annual fee of $25. Essentially what that is paying for insurance. And then don't pay too much attention to the roles that can be fulfilled. If you look down at the bottom there, you'll see those of you that are starting new teams, don't stress about trying to get a level 3 certification. You have time to get your level 3 certification if you're starting a new team. That being said, after a certain period of time, you do need to have that. We'll talk about that when we get to Tier 3. So Tier 2, that's the next step up. I highly recommend that everybody get Tier 2 no matter what, because that's where you're going to get your first aid and CPR training, which is invaluable to have when you're taking kids out, especially on the trail. That is a one-day class. It's 8 hours long. We have our own EMT who's been with us for the longest time. He's a retired sheriff's deputy. He's a really great guy. If you can take the class with him, there's a couple of them coming up. I'll have those dates posted. Please look into that. You'll take risk management level 1 and 2 for your tier 2 license, so it's basically a little bit more in-depth on your risk management. You'll do an MTB skills training. That's a one-day course. It'll be taught by myself or one of our coaching supporters or Matt Gannell. We've got a couple of those coming up as well. That class is essentially how to be a coach at practice. That'll teach you all the skills that you need to teach skills to kids to run a practice itself. You'll do the NICA student athlete again. You'll have to have your concussion certification, which again is an annual certification, and then field work hours. A lot of people look at field work hours and they go, "Oh my God, 20 hours, that's a really long time." But this is you'll get this in the first season 10 times over if you're running practices with a team. So don't stress on that. That'll come naturally. You have a $25 fee again, and then again, don't pay too much attention to the rules, especially if you're starting a brand new team here. License level 3, that's going to be the NICA approved first aid. So at tier 2, you're welcome to take a class if you want to take one with American Heart Association for CPR, if you want to do the Red Cross for first aid, any of those valid first aid and CPR classes will work. But for tier 3, you need to have the NICA approved first aid or a wilderness first aid class. The wilderness first aid class is a longer class. The NICA first aid class is the same length roughly as the tier 2 class. However, it's specific to things that you're going to encounter as a coach on a NICA team. You have to have 8 hours of seminars. Those seminars cover basically everything that you'd ever want to know about being a coach, to the point that your ears will be ringing afterwards. We offer those classes online only now, over a series of 3 nights, 2.5 hours a night. They cover risk management, they cover insurance, how to build a team, how to talk to the team director, all kinds of stuff. So look into those. We've got some coming up, I believe, next week, actually. You'll do your MTB skills just like for Tier 2, NICA student athlete, concussion certification, 80 hours of field work here, though. So, again, 80 hours may seem like a lot, but really over the course of a season, it's not much at all. So don't stress on that. The big thing here, kind of one of the motivations to get your Tier 3 license, is that at Tier 3, SoCal is going to pay your $25 fee. So if you can try and get that, definitely get it as soon as possible. You've got a bit of time to do it by your, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, because I always forget this, but you must have one level 3 coach to register for the 3rd season. Oh, it's actually written at the bottom of the page. Look at that. All right, so risk management. It's the most important thing you do. This picture in the background here, this is what we call our coaches meeting. We have one of these before every race. It's a giant risk management meeting for the on-the-day thing. We cover risk management from every angle. Literally every decision we make thinking about the potential risk involved with that decision. So it's the absolutely one indispensable piece of your training that you'll receive as a coach. It's going to protect you so that in the event that something happens with insurance or whatever else, you know you were doing things the right way. You were being a risk manager. And it helps you understand the fundamentals of creating and running programs that are as safe as we can make them. Remember, we're working with other people's kids, so we're not even going to be able to grow if people think that their kids are coming into Red Bull Rampage, right? Risk management is offered, again, as an online course. I think you can actually just pop online and watch the video now, and then you take a test for it. There's no charge for it. Oh, I'm going back in time there. So the Leader Summits, the term Leader Summit seminars, we used to have what's called a Leader Summit where we do everything in one. But now, like I was saying, we do the Leader Summit seminars as an online course. They're required for your level 3 coach's license. They allow you to fill the role of head coach. So once you get to that 3rd year, in order to be the head coach, you should have that level 3 license. There are 3 evenings online, 2.5 hours roughly per night. Start 7:30, go to 9:30, and there's lots of time always at the end for questions. So the dates that are listed there are correct. If you want to take a quick screenshot, go ahead, but those are also found on the front page of our website along with every other event that SoCal League has. Our calendar is always posted right on the front page of the website with links on how to register for everything. On the bike skills training, don't really need to say too much more than this. Those are the dates that are coming up. If you're interested in doing your on-the-bike skills training, look into one of those. One quick thing here: you don't need to have any experience at all to come to one of these classes. The whole point of the class is to give you all of those skills to teach you how to ride a bike, so that you can teach others how to ride a bike. First aid and CPR, again, dates down at the left-hand side. Take a look at those. Take a quick screenshot if you need to. Otherwise, go to the SoCal League page. It kind of says it all there. When things go wrong, we want to be positioned to provide assistance, best position to provide assistance. So we do CPR and first aid training in the SoCal League. Actually, the guy that I was telling you about, Bob Foster, is that guy in the middle. He's a really cool guy. If you come to one of those classes, you'll have a riot of a time. Highly recommend you do one of the ones with him. Remember that at Tier 3, when you hit that 3rd year and you've got to have that Level 3 coach's license, you're going to want to take the one with him. That's the NICA approved first aid. Okay, so big important slide. Many of you, I'm guessing, are preparing to go and talk to school administrators, and that can be a scary experience, and it can go one of 2 ways. It can go very well, and they'll be very accepting of you, or at least maybe listen to you, or they're going to look at you and go, dude, I'm calling the police. So there's a number of things that you want to think about before you go into school administrator's office and say, hey, I want to ride bikes with a bunch of teenage high school students. I'm some random guy walking in. So first thing would be, who are you? What's your background? Where are you coming from? Are you a former pro athlete? Are you a skills trainer? What experience do you have in the mountain bike community? What experience do you have as a coach? Did you coach an AYSO team? Did you coach a football team? Do you have a kid that you provide coaching for? What's your experience there? Anything that you can bring to the table that shows that you have some sort of knowledge working with youth, working in a leadership role, something like that, that's a good thing to have. What do you intend to do? Well, I want to come in and I want to take kids off 50-foot jumps on mountain bikes. People might laugh, but that's what an administrator hears. So I want to come in, I want to start a club team with the school. I want to start an official school team because I went to high school here and I've got Spartan pride, or I've got Bulldog pride, or whatever. It's, the SoCal League is a well-established organization that runs a spring sport for high schools all across SoCal. Here's a number of other schools that are doing exactly what I want to do. They offer training for riders and coaches. That's a really big one. Do you think that all the coaches for all of the other teams have no training of any type, that they have no risk management, anything? I would guess not, especially if they're school-based teams, if they're official school teams. When's it going to happen? That's a big one, because as an administrator, they're thinking about all these things that are going on during the year that they have to be planning for. What's your basic practice schedule? We're going to practice 3 days a week, with one of them being on our local trail, and one being in our parking lot to do skills, and one in a training room on trainer bikes, or in someone's garage on trainer bikes. What are the key points, events in the season? Well, we're forming our team in late December. Our first race is in February. Our season is officially over, and we tell everyone to go home and leave us alone on May 28th, whatever it is. What's the race schedule? The race schedule is posted on the SoCal League page. You can easily make a printout of it and take it in and say, hey, this is the race schedule. It's been the same almost every year. We normally run the same weekends. This is what it's going to be. And that schedule is up there for our 10th anniversary, our 2018 season right now. Where will it happen? One of the things that tends to happen when prospective coaches or people looking to start teams go in to talk to a team director, to a school administrator. The school administrator sees dollar signs. Teams are expensive. You know how much a football field costs? It's a lot. So definitely want to know where your venue is going to be. If you got nowhere to practice, if you go in and you tell them, yeah, we want to ride mountain bikes, where are you going to do it? On the 210 freeway. No, there's some local trails around. There's a trail advocacy group that we want to partner with and to have the kids maybe do some trail work with, so we have a practice area. Something that we always tell people in our coaches training, and you can pass this along, is that we're very different from other sports in the sense that there's no football field that gets mowed for us before we go. We have to know where those places are that we're going to have our practices. We have to create the field of play for ourselves. Why are you doing this? This probably is one of the most important ones. Well, I'm a parent and my kid just got into mountain biking. He goes to your school. I really would like to be a coach so that I can spend more time with my kid. I'm a mountain biker myself. It's done a lot for me as a person. I want to give back. Something like that. Don't just walk in and say, I'm a 45-year-old man that wants to take 18-year-old girls out on mountain bikes. That doesn't go well. How will you do this? Whoa. Sorry about that. How will you do this? So again, administrators going to see dollar signs. They're going to go, oh, school, this is expensive. The school has to pay for all this stuff, and that's not the case. 99.99% of our teams are self-funded. So they do sponsorship. They get a bike shop involved, which is something that I recommend that you all do. And that's not to say that the kids are walking in and going, I need a pro deal and I need to put my bike in front of 20 other customers because I have a race this weekend. But it's definitely good to have a relationship where they know the kids on the team. When they come in, they're respected. They respect the bike shop folks, and you have a good relationship. That works out to the benefit of many of our teams. We're going to, be ready to tell them how you're going to recruit riders. If you're doing a club team, most schools have a club week where all the kids and the teachers that are running their clubs put booths up, and the kids at lunchtime or whatever get to walk around and sign up for whatever it is. So think about how you're going to get those riders, how you're going to get coaches. Again, a lot of your coaches are going to come from getting the riders because they'll be parents. And then they're going to want to know about insurance, and we will give you all the tools. We are insured to the utmost level. I don't think there's anyone that actually provides insurance like we have. So take that information in with you. You want to be able to tell them, hey, we're managing risk, but if something does go wrong, we're backed up. We have this. There is an administrator-focused PowerPoint presentation available. I'm happy to send that to you if you shoot me an email. You can also email Matt if you need a link to that. So our annual schedule. So we start registration right around October 1st. That's not to say that like everybody just jumps in and immediately does it. Some teams wait until later on. But October 1st, that's when the pit zone's going to open, and you can start getting all your profiles, getting all your kids in. October 15th, November 30th, that's when people, some of the teams will start doing skills, mechanical clinics, maybe a couple of fun rides. But December 1st is when your teams are you're going to start having practices. And a lot of teams, they're really not doing much of anything until after the holidays over. There will be. Did I just hear Matt? No, okay. So there will be a few, these aren't posted yet, but look for them soon. Many of you will probably have new racers coming into the league. We'll have a couple of new racer clinics. We typically do one that's co-ed and one that is girls only. Those are for racers who have never raced a season before. We'll go through a lot of the same training that you'll receive as coaches with regards to bike handling skills, but then we also do some things like race starts and all, so that they can feel what it's like to be in a pack with that number of riders. Really good thing for someone who's just coming in, who's never been around that many other kids before on a mountain bike. There's going to be a teen trail camp. I'll get to Teen Trail Corps in just a second, and that'll explain what that is. In the spring, that's when racing happens. February through mid-May, we're a 5-race series with the state championships, which is an independent race. It's totally separate from everything else. That's where either NorCal comes down here or we go up to NorCal. This season, we'll be headed up to NorCal, and then next year it'll come back to us. We'll host probably at the Tehachapi venue. Summer camp, this year, unfortunately, we had to cancel because who knew there was snow in Mammoth in July, so big bummer on that, but we've already scheduled. We are on the books for next season, so there will be a summer camp at Mammoth next year. And then year-round, teams can be forming, teams can be recruiting. A lot of the stuff that Matt and I do in the off-season are talking to folks like you who are looking to start teams, who are looking to recruit new coaches. We do all of our coaches training in the off-season. So a lot of the more year-round stuff is focused on training and that sort of thing. Practice and skills. So the practice schedule is determined by coaches within the NICA training limit guidelines. So when you go through your seminars training, you're going to learn all about team training limits and all that stuff. Typically, though, teams are going to practice 2 to 3 times a week and once on a weekend. So what I like to do on the team that I ride lead with is we do the fun ride on the weekend because that's when people have time to drive their cars to places. We do 2 trail rides a week, and this season, they haven't done it before, but I'm putting some of my kids on a trainer this season. It's okay to reduce ratios for practices such as core training, spin class, skills, dirt crit training, intervals and guided workout on a tight loop trail. You don't have to go on a big, long trail ride every time you go to practice. That's a trap that some people fall into. There's so much that you can do just in a parking lot. You really can't do the type of fitness training anywhere like you can when you're in a spin studio with the kids. So if you have access to that, that's a really good resource for building fitness. Typically, you're looking at around 7 to 10 hours per week. Anything over that, and unless you've got some of these, we do have some very fast top-level riders in the league, but most of them have coaches outside of the SoCal League as well. We're definitely focused on trying not to burn riders out. We've had kids in the past who came through who were pushed too hard, and they never will mountain bike again. So we want them to become lifelong mountain bikers, to always be having fun. Fun and safety, 2 most important things. Skills development. Riders of all skill levels are welcome and encouraged. So it doesn't matter if you just have the training wheels pulled off your bike. It doesn't matter if you've never ridden a bike. If all you've ever done is play around on a unicycle, we don't care. Come on out. join us. We'll teach you the skills that you need to have. We're very focused, again, on safe bike handling skills in our trainings, and we allow coaches to match riders with appropriate trails. So one of your jobs as a coach is going to be to look at your riders and say, yeah, maybe they don't belong on that trail over there. We're going to do this one over here. And then mechanical skills are super important as well. That's a component of our training for the coaches. It's a component of our training for the kids. We've had many racers go through the SoCal League, especially on days where we had some rain the day before that come through with flat tire, a broken chain, and they didn't know how to put a quick link on or something. So mechanical skills, super important, and we encourage you to teach that, and we will teach some of it to you and your kids. So what can you expect if you come out to a SoCal League race? The first thing I can tell you is expect for it to be super packed. Expect to have a ton of fun. The whole weekend is like a big giant party. It's like this camping festival where all the families are barbecuing and there's mountain bikes everywhere. You know, it's an event that you bring the whole family out to. You know, you may think of like the typical high school sport where you go to the water polo game, mom and dad drop the kid off, and they show up, you know, an hour or whatever later to pick them up. Our events are not like that. Our events are the entire family comes out and they will hike out on course. They cheer the kids on. It's just a really big kind of festival type event. So if you are coming out on Saturday, that's when we have our middle school races. We also do pre-ride on Saturdays. Pre-ride starts at 12 o'clock, and pre-ride kind of overlaps a little bit with the middle school races. Sunday is the high school racing. All of our courses are spectator-friendly, so bring your family out. Like I was saying, bring your family, bring some cowbells. And one thing that you'll notice if you've ever gone to any other mountain bike race, when you come out to ours, you're going to see people in bright vests all over the course. These are course marshals. They are essentially safety officials who are out on course at pre-designated spots that we think that they need to be at. Usually there's around 12 to 18. They're there to radio in if anything goes wrong, if the course needs to be shut down temporarily, if we need an EMT. There are always EMTs on site at the races for pre-ride and for the race itself. And then we have roving marshals, which are kind of like course marshals, except they're on a bike and they do laps of the course. So we really have as close to 100% course coverage as you could at a race. Again, we're very focused on risk management, on the safety of our riders before anything else. Safety, fun, and then everything else. So at the high school races, for middle school, again, you'll have podiums only for the top 5. They race only in their field. There's no cumulative scoring for the season. However, for high school, you're going to have your individual awards. They'll go top 5s, and then you'll do team podiums, and you'll also have leader jersey for the high school riders. So the guy, the kid who's at the top of the pack in each one of the fields will get a special jersey to wear. We use a real chip timing system. We've even got a finish line camera. It's super high tech, super awesome, very, very high accountability. Racing categories. So we race in 3 categories. The first being Division 1. Those are teams that have 12 riders or more. Those are non-composite teams, though. So teams that are, you know, homeschool club teams, yada, yada. And then Division 2, which is going to be your teams, same principle, homeschool teams, teams that are school-based, of 12 riders or fewer. And then composite races in its own category. However, composites need to be less than 12 riders. At 12 riders, that's where we try to split off into multiple separate school-based or homeschool-based teams. Or even sometimes other composites. That's happened. Scoring is a combination of boys and girls results, and I know some of you are going, but I'm at an all-boys school. Well, that's okay. We do allow schools that are single-sex only to compete with another school of the opposite sex. So, like if you're from St. Francis and you need girls to score, you're doing it with Sacred Heart if they have a team. Individual scoring, grades 6 through 12, already talked about this. Let's move on because I got a bunch more to do and I got almost no time left. So this is our race schedule. Again, it's always posted on the front page of the SoCal League website. This is the actual schedule for the season if you want to take a screenshot of it. If not, you can always pop onto the SoCal League page. You see the bright yellow arrow up there that points to 2017 races. If you click on that, you'll see this page with JJ Fresh on it. I don't know if he's still on there or not, but you'll notice the little boxes to the side. So if you look at February 24th, 25th, 2018, Beach to Boulders, and then as we get closer to the race, each one of the links in the box to the side of it will light up. So you'll be able to click on the race flyer and see information. You'll be able to click on the venue and course map to see exactly where the course is going to go, or get a Strava map. You'll be able to get the call-ups and staging notes if you've got kids that are in the front. That's a super important thing that you want to be printing off before the race. So how much does it cost? This is probably the biggest question that everyone has. Bike and helmet for student athletes. Bike can really be anything. I've seen kids on $10,000 bikes. That's not everyone, and I definitely do not encourage that. Reasonably speaking, I would say that you could probably get a bike for really close to $1,000 that has everything it'll ever need to be a perfectly safe bike to race in the SoCal League. Helmets range from normally around $50 to $150. You don't have to get the top tier of everything. There are some kids on your teams whose parents have an infinite bank account and they will want to do that. That's entirely up to them. But generally speaking, probably around $1,000 you can get a bike and a helmet. Your team fees, some of you from the previous seasons may notice that this has changed. It's been a little bit restructured. So essentially for a season of races, you're looking at $60 annual registration, $30 per race, and $210 total if you do all the races for middle school. So that's just for middle school. You can either register for everything all at once. You can register for one at a time. You don't have to just pay $210 right away. Also, some teams like to do this. You know, some teams, the team director likes to collect everyone's and they handle it for them. Some teams, they want them to do it themselves. If you're racing in high school, you're looking at about a $325 annual commitment. If you're going to do all 5 races, you'll do a $75 annual registration and then $50 per race. One thing to note in there is that if your kid loses your plate, they'll have to pay an additional $10 each time they need to replace it. Your plate is yours for the whole season. There are scholarships available for riders. They're very limited. They're given out based upon needs. So if you've got a rider who is in need, don't feel shy. Feel free to contact Matt or myself. As far as coaches go, I showed you, you've got your $25 annual fee, except for Tier 3. That fee is waived for anyone who has their Tier 3 license. And then other items, there's a team registration fee of $50. And you've got to think about stuff like clothing costs. There's no requirement to go get a fully matching kit for every, you know, if you're starting a team, you don't have to go spend $10,000 on the top tier, you know, nicest kit that you can buy where everything matches. You can get all the kids in the same color T-shirt. So don't stress out about that. You don't have to have that you know, highest level stuff right away. And then you're going to have other costs: travel, food, lodging, camping at the races. It's very common. Matt and I have been saying for a long time that we need an RV vendor. Parents go out and buy RVs and stuff. So there's all kinds of costs that could factor in there. But the basic costs are getting your registration fees paid, making sure the kid has a suitable bike. Kid rolls up on a Walmart bike, obviously that's a discussion you need to have with the parents. Moving on. So Earlier I mentioned Teen Trail Camps. The Teen Trail Corps is a new program that was launched last season. SoCal helped pilot that. We had a couple of riders who got to get up on the podium. We had, I think, one teen trail captain, and we had a couple of other of our student athletes that received their badges. If you look at these 5 circles on the front here, you'll notice, if you're an IMBA member, you might notice the Speak, Build, Respect, and Ride tenets. Those are the IMBA tenets. This program was formed in conjunction with IMBA to help turn high school student athletes into mountain biking advocates. So this is a program that has nothing to do with racing. It's all about creating the next generation of responsible mountain bikers who are going to allow for there to be access for mountain bikes here and all over the place. You can get a lot more information about this by going to the Teen Trail Corps website. Matt is super involved with it. If you have questions, please send them to him. That's that on that. Insurance, really, I only need to pull out one quick thing from here. That is, we could talk for hours about this, and you definitely will talk a lot more in your coach's training, but we have what's called excess medical, meaning that if something happens, so if you come out to a race, your rider crashes, or you're at a practice, your rider crashes, and they have zero insurance, insurance starts at $1 and goes up to $25,000. So if you have a $15,000 medical bill, your rider has no insurance, it's going to be covered by the excess medical, providing that there was no negligence. And Matt, feel free to jump in if there's any other big pullouts from that, but I'm trying to scoot along to some of these other slides. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm already through. I made it right on time. Well, thank you, everyone.